everybody, welcome to number 27. Today I am taking the InfluEnzo to Wales, to electric classic cars, to get them to give us an estimate on how much it would cost to convert it to electric. Now before you all start panicking, it is extremely unlikely that I would ever convert this car to electric, but I thought it would be interesting. And I asked them if they were willing to give me an estimate and also to give me some more technical details on how the conversion is actually performed, because I did a video on an electric 308 which was converted by them a while ago, but I didn't really talk that much about the specifics. So the size of the battery packs, the size of the motor that they were using, what's involved in doing the conversion, and lastly, and most interesting of all, is how much it would cost. Okay, so we're here at Electric Classic Cars in Newtown, Mid Wales. It's an absolutely beautiful area. I'm here with John, and we're going to talk a little bit about the ins and outs of potentially converting a 308 like mine to electric.
So at the moment you've got the V8 in there. That has all got to come out.
Yeah.
Also the fuel system, obviously, the exhaust system, and the cooling system. Even though we use cooling system, the original cooling system all comes out and everything else is built new. We custom build or have the drive shaft custom fabricated to take. So we've got to we're putting a Tesla motor in, and if you want to see one, we do have one down here and one down there, which is split apart. So this is a Tesla large motor. It's come out of Tesla Model S. We buy these already salvaged, reconditioned. They're completely stripped apart. They've got a new control board in, so we can actually control it. Otherwise, because we can't use the Tesla control system. Also the gearing, which is in here. So we've got two things. So this is the motor here. Yeah. It's driving out of there, yeah, onto a gearing. I think this is standard is 9.37 to 1 or 7.3 to 1. I forget which one. Okay. And originally it had an open diff. We put in an ATB limited slip diff. Okay. And this is the controller and inverter that goes in there. On a lot of the motors that we use, they're air-cooled, they don't have any maintenance on them whatsoever. Yeah. This does. They need an oil change around every 100,000 miles. We've got to marry the Tesla end to the Ferrari end to drive the wheels. We're going up to 670 Newton meters of torque direct, yeah, on those. So we've got to ensure that anything we make is capable of taking that amount of torque.
Okay, John, so I believe at the front here is where the bulk of the battery packs would go?
Yeah, not quite the bulk of them. So we had one battery box with 8 yeah, battery modules in the front. Yeah. Another box behind behind the firewall with 8 going, yeah, across the full length, and another 2 in a box above the motor.
And since you've done that conversion, so if we were to convert this very car, would you be using the same methods, or have you evolved or had to change things since?
Well, in many cases we're forced to evolve. Okay. So there's a couple of things. One, we will use battery cooling in future ones, but also those batteries are not available to us anymore. They were originally used for the Chevy Volt. They're LG Chem batteries. And LG Chem put a stop on selling those, so we can't get hold of them anymore. LG Chem do other batteries which we can get hold of, yeah, but they're a different size, format, and voltage, and amp hours as well. So they're not suitable for most of the conversions we're doing. Okay, John. So I think the thing that everyone is most interested in is if you were to convert a car like this now, is how much would it cost? Now I know we've already spoken a bit about this, so I know that you can't give any exact figures for lots of reasons. First of all, it's constantly evolving and changing. Secondly, this is evolving even more because you're going to have to re-engineer it to use different components. Yeah. But it would still be interesting for people to know roughly, I guess, if possible, what the cost potentially would be for the components that you're going to use,
and then what the conversion could cost, I guess, with the provisos that obviously it does depend and it could change.
Yeah. Even if we were to do it today, or with the same components that we did with Peter's, if we were able to, and if we're changing, obviously we don't know which battery module we're going to be using. I'd estimate that the cost for the components are going to be around 50,000, including that. It's a rough estimate, you know, they vary a huge amount, and we don't know all of the components are going to go in there. If we were to do this conversion exactly the same as Pete's, if we were available, if we could, I think the overall cost, because it's basically a copy paste with a couple of changes, it would be around 70,000.
Okay.
If we're doing it today, then it's going to be more like 75 to over 95,000.
Okay.
Because we are going to have to redesign. We've got to use different batteries. It takes a lot longer to do that. I mean, when Peter's was first done, it took, when Richard was in a smaller facility and he was pretty much working with himself and one other person. Yeah. So it is different now, but it took him over a year, 12 months to do that. Okay. And even now it would be 6 months minimum to do that sort of build. Well, so a few differences though on that, but we've got better chargers now than we had before. We would also be able to do, because it's a 400 volt system, we'd be able to do DC fast charging up to 100 kilowatts.
Okay, so what does that, in terms of charging, what does that mean? So Pete's car, to charge from 0 to 100, the fastest he can do, to 100%, how long would that take?
8-hour charge.
And with the new fast charging?
If you're doing the CCS fast charging, you'd be able to do that. So if it was at 100 kilowatt, then you'd be done in half an hour.
Thank you so much to John and everybody at Electric Classic Cars for having sort of let me come over to visit them and see what they're doing. It's really, really interesting. The journey back actually allowed me to have a bit of a think about everything, and I have to tell you that I am not one of these people that is absolutely averse to changing the engine for an electric motor on any classics, including this one. I have to say this might be a bit controversial, but everything told, this is not Ferrari's best engine. It does have a character of its own and it's quite an interesting engine, but quite frankly, the main reason why at this point in time I wouldn't consider an electric conversion for this car is, first of all, the history I have with it and the sheer determination and grit that I have to want to get it running as it is. But secondly, in my circumstances at the moment, financially, it would actually, make absolutely no sense. But I am not convinced. The only thing that I would really miss, actually, if this was changed for an electric motor, I think, would be the gearbox. And that might shock some people, but I just love the gearbox on this car. It's so precise, it's so nice to use. Thank you all for watching, as always. If you need to contact me, then Instagram is the best way. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. I've got some more sort of electric car content coming up as well. And thanks again to everybody at Electric Classic Cars, and look forward to seeing you soon.